You ever have those mornings where you walk into the shop, flip the lights, and just smell the potential of a fresh stack of cherry? It beats a cup of Colombian dark roast every single time.
Well, usually I smell the potential of you having left the soldering iron on overnight, Tiger. But I'll give you the romantic woodshop vibes for once. It's Friday. We made it.
We did. And man, the TigerDen inbox has been vibrating off the table this week. We've got kids outbuilding the pros, 3D printers that act more like Star Trek replicators than temperamental glue guns, and the eternal struggle of trying to get the internet to actually look at the things we make.
I'm honestly most excited about the 3D printing stuff today, mainly because I want to see if we've finally crossed the threshold where I don't have to spend 6 hours calibrating a machine just to print a plastic tugboat that fails halfway through.
Oh, the benchy trauma is real. But look, the landscape in 2026 is a different beast. We've been messing with the Haygear's Ultracraft Reflex RS Turbo, and if that name isn't a mouthful, I don't know what is, but the tech is legit. Resin printing used to be this toxic, sticky ordeal that felt like you were handling radioactive syrup in a basement.
It was gross, using gloves to touch everything, the smell of a chemical plant. What changed?
They made it, and I hate to use this word because it sounds like a furniture commercial, refined. It's pleasant to live with now. The RS turbos handling details that make a human hair look like a bridge timber. If you're doing jewelry molds or those tiny intricate prototypes where every micron counts, filament just looks like a stack of pancakes by comparison.
Okay, but for those of us who aren't making dental implants or diamond rings, is the old reliable plastic string dead?
Not by a long shot. Bamboo Lab is still the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Their A1 Mini is basically the set it and forget it coffee maker of the maker world. And the multicolor stuff? We finally moved past the it looks like a melted crayon phase. You can actually produce something that looks like a finished retail product right off the build plate without the DIY. I made this in my garage aesthetic screaming at you.
But it's still a machine, Tiger. And you specifically have a magical aura that makes electronics stop working the moment you look at them. What happens when the turbo reflex whatever decides to go on strike?
Look, I've had my fair share of moments where I wanted to introduce a sledgehammer to a motherboard. My advice for 2026: stop trying to be a hero and order parts from halfway across the globe to save $6. Stay under warranty, find a local authorized reseller. They've popped up everywhere this year. And for the love of all that is holy, keep a spare hot end in your drawer. It's like having a spare tire. You don't wait for a blowout on the highway to go shopping for one.
Speaking of being prepared, I was reading the trade spotlight in the blog today. This 22-year-old carpenter heading to the international championships? That makes me feel exceptionally unaccomplished.
It should. No, but seriously, this kid represents the US in carpentry, and he's already a business owner, 22 years old. When I was 22, I was still trying to figure out why you shouldn't use a screwdriver as a pry bar.
I'm pretty sure you still do that, but what's his secret? Is it just raw talent?
It's the philosophy. He said something that really stuck in my craw. Don't just learn to swing a hammer. Learn why the hammer's swinging. That's the difference between a guy who shows up to trade hours for dollars and a guy who understands the physics, the bidding, the client's psychology, and the project management.
It's the business of build. I think a lot of people think they have to choose. Either you're a suit or you're a maker. But the most successful people we see lately are both.
Exactly. Whether you're a welder, an electrician, or a woodworker, if you can't speak the language of a contract, you're always going to be at the mercy of someone who can. This kid is proof that if you show up with intensity and treat the business side like a craft itself, you're basically unfireable.
Speaking of business, let's talk about the maker mogul section. I know you have a love-hate relationship with your phone, but how are people actually moving products this year? Is it still just shouting into the void of TikTok?
Instagram is still the heavy hitter for us, Alex. People don't just want a photo of a finished bowl anymore. They want to see the shavings flying. They want the drama of the oiling shot where the wood suddenly comes to life. It's visual storytelling. If you're not showing the ugly middle stages of a project, people don't trust the end result.
You mean I have to show the part where you accidentally sanded through the veneer?
Hey, that's character. But honestly, the sleeper hit for makers in 2026 is LinkedIn. I know, it sounds like a place for people who enjoy spreadsheets and corporate jargon. But if you're doing high-end custom builds, that's where the interior designers and the people with the office renovation budgets are hanging out. You post a custom walnut boardroom table on LinkedIn, and you're talking directly to the person who signs the checks.
So, Instagram for the soul, LinkedIn for the mortgage.
You're learning. It's all about putting your work where the right eyes can see it.
All right, let's get into the weeds. Weekend projects. You've been looking at some New World Craig builds and some high end joinery. Those two things feel like they're on opposite ends of the solar system.
You'd be surprised. We saw a tutorial this week from Maker Channel where they were pushing pocket holes, which most purists look down on like there's some kind of cheating, to their absolute engineering limit. It's about speed without sacrificing the soul of the piece.
But then you also pointed out a video on 45 high end joinery details. That sounds like a rabbit hole of perfectionism.
It's a beautiful rabbit hole. There's this one detail, a transition where wood meets stone in a subtle shadow gap. It's the kind of stuff that makes a $2,000 built-in look like a $2,000 architectural masterpiece. It's about those 1% tweaks, how the grain wraps around a corner or how a handle is carved directly into the drawer front instead of being screwed on.
And the finish? You're always preaching about the finish.
Because you can spend 100 hours on a dovetail, and if you slap a thick plastic-looking poly on it that feels like a basketball court, you've killed the spirit of the wood. We're seeing a big move towards specialized oils this year, products that soak in and let you actually feel the wood fibers while still being tough enough to handle a spilled cup of coffee. It's that close to the wood feel. It's tactile.
The spirit of the wood. See, this is why people listen to you. You make a pile of lumber sound like a religious experience.
It is. It's a miracle we get to do this. You take a tree that's been standing for 80 years and you turn it into something that'll sit in someone's dining room for another 80. That's a heavy responsibility, Alex. You don't want to screw that up with a bad hinge or a lazy sanding job.
Well, on that note of heavy responsibility, what's our takeaway for the TigerDen family this weekend? Before they head out to the garage and start making sawdust?
My challenge is simple. Pick one thing this weekend that scares you a little bit. If you've been terrified of resin printing because it's too high tech, just go buy the entry-level machine and fail once. If you're a pro who's been ignoring the business side, spend an hour looking at your pricing instead of your planes.
And if you're like Tiger, maybe try not to use your chisel as a flathead screwdriver.
Hey, I said one thing. Let's not get carried away. Look, whether you're chasing a certification, trying to sell your first project, or just trying to get a glue up to stay square, stay hungry, stay humble, and for heaven's sake, keep building.
We'll see you in the shop.